So have you ever thought about owning your own rental property here in Canada? Sometimes you think that it's so hard and it's impossible, but there's actually a lot of ways that you can, even if you're a new immigrant. And today I'm going to share with you my experience on how I got into my first rental property, and I hope that I can share the mistakes that I made, how much I'm profiting out of it. I'm also going to share something that you can do differently now that will allow you to shortcut your way towards getting that property. So if we haven't met yet, my name is Ryan and I'm an HR professional and entrepreneur here in Canada. And this channel is all about sharing skills and experiences so that you can fast track your way towards your goal as a new immigrant here in Canada. So before I start, let me just do a bit of a disclaimer here. I am not a real estate agent. I am not affiliated with any banks or financial institutions, and this video is not sponsored by them as well. So I just want to make sure that I throw it out there. So let's dive into it. The first thing that you need to know is your why. I've read this book, Start With Why by Simon Sinek, and if you haven't read it yet, it's really a great read. The reason why we bought a property in the beginning was during that stage in our life where we were transitioning to Canada and we're new immigrants. We have already decided that we will buy our first house as a starter house and convert it into a rental property. Now, why is that important? It's because of the type of property that you're going to be buying. We're looking for something that we can transition out of eventually. So the property that we chose was a townhouse that is a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, and a basement. We actually had to pay a minimum of 5% deposit to the house. And I will talk to you about the numbers later on, like the price of the house that we bought. I'll show you pictures of the house as well, and then also let you know what are the rental incomes and stuff. The house that we bought was for our primary residence. And then it was a 3-bedroom. 1 bedroom was occupied by me and my wife. The other bedroom was for my son. And at the time, my daughter was very young. She was still a baby, so she was sharing the same room as we are. So we got this extra room in our house that we'd actually rent it out. So the rent that we got out of that bedroom paid for some of the expenses for paying the house, and that includes the mortgage. We also charge our renter a bit of a fee for the food. So we were cooking, and then we would cook partially for him. We charge him for that. We were doing that house hacking for a while, and it really opened up this notion of possibilities. We were able to understand that regardless what status you are here in Canada, you can actually be ahead, especially when it comes to wealth building. So we did that for a couple of years, and as years passed by and we were getting rent for that 1 bedroom, the value of the house slowly increased, of course, and also the equity for the house also increased. And so if you're still wondering what value is in equity, so value is as time progresses, as years pass by, the value of the house increases depending on where it is. And when you talk about equity, as you pay the mortgage down, of course, your amount owing goes down and down, right? So whatever the difference is with that amount owing, and then the purchase price of that house will be your equity. So fast forward a couple years, we were in a position to buy a second home. So we had this property for rent. Let me show you what the property is. So this is the townhouse that we've bought a couple years back. Like what I said, the location is really great. So I'm just going to show you a couple pictures here. This is the kitchen, really nice kitchen, small, but really ideal for a small family, young family. This is the dining area. So we did a lot of work on this one. So we painted the walls, of course, and then we changed the flooring because it's a little bit of a mature house. So it was built in 1970, late 1970s. So we had to do a lot of work for it. This is the main living room. A little bit of that electric fireplace right there. So again, did a lot of work on this one already. We changed the flooring. This is one of the bedrooms. We kept the carpets as is. We didn't change the carpet, but we did do a lot of paintings for the walls and all. The next one is actually something that we did. So this is the basement now. And this is where we actually spend a lot of money decorating or changing. So we changed the walls. We added the pot lights on the ceilings. We did the flooring. We did the laundry area. Just to make it looking and everything in its place. We created this living space right here where we used to have like a big TV here when we were living there, but we removed it obviously. Yeah, and just made it really nice and appealing for who is wanting to rent in that place. So that was the first property that we've had. So now, of course, it's giving us a monthly rental income where we have cash flow. So let's dive a little bit on numbers. So the rental property that we have right now is giving us a cash flow. So we are renting it for $1,575 on a monthly basis, and the mortgage is $928 per month. Another expense is property tax. So property tax, we pay about $160 per month for that. And this property actually is part of a townhouse that has a condo board. And when you buy properties that has those condo boards, you have to pay a condo fee. So condo fee for this property is $266. Insurance that I pay a yearly insurance of $711, which is about $59.25 per month. So that is my expenses. So if you take out all the expenses minus that towards your total rental income, I actually have a monthly net income of $161.79. So if you multiply that to 12 months, which is it will give you about $1,941 per year. So that's the income that I get from this rental property. For the whole year, last year, 2022, we didn't really have a lot of maintenance costs for it. Luckily, I think the only thing that we changed was the filter for the furnace, which is about $20. But other than that, really lucky not to have a lot of maintenance costs. So you also have to incorporate that if you eventually want to become a landlord, is things fall apart, right? So sometimes things get damaged or needs repair, and you should be able to take time to fix that right away, because you don't want your tenants to be frustrated about things that needs work or repairs. The other thing that you need to consider, other than the maintenance cost, is the time where you might possibly not have renters in your property, because it can be possible, right, where your previous tenants leave, and then you're not able to fill that property right away with new tenants. So you also have to consider that. That's my monthly income or cash flow for this property. Other than the cash flow, you also have a lot of wealth building. This rental property, we bought that for $223,000 through the bank, through mortgage, and then we have an outstanding as of today, 2023, of around $161,000. From the purchase price, what we have remaining, there's a difference of $61,753, and that's what we call the equity of the house. So also, I mentioned earlier that when you get into real estate, buy a property, it also increases in value as years, right? So it also depends on the market, because sometimes there are years where the value of your house actually goes down, but eventually long term, the value for your house will eventually increase. And for this specific property that we bought, it actually increased by 12.8% from the time that we bought it. So that 12.8% is about $28,700 to the original price of when we bought that property. If you add the equity and then the value that we got from the time that we bought this house, we actually have a total appreciation for the house for about $90,453. Just remember that real estate, especially with the long-term rental, it's not a get-rich-quick scheme. It takes time. So now I wanted to share with you the mistakes that we made that I wish I can go back and maybe change a bit. I didn't regret getting the property, but if we could tweak my decision, maybe I changed the kind of property that I'm gonna be buying. So the first one that I wanted to share with you is, if I had the ability to choose a property that has separate entrance towards the basement, that's probably a good idea. You see, the property that I showed you earlier, it has a basement, but it did not have a separate entrance to the basement from the outside. So if you think about it, could have actually rented that basement and also got some rental income other than renting the extra bedroom that we've had. So that was a miss, but I learned from experience, right? The second thing that I would have probably changed is, if I can buy a property that has a garage, either detached or attached garage, I'd probably get into this property, because it's a bit of a trend right now. I'm sure it's not it's been there for a while. But I see and hear a lot of landlords actually changing their garage and upgrading their garage to something that is livable. And you have to be careful because there's a lot of zoning that you need to be aware of because the city might not approve it. And then the very last mistake is if you can actually stay away from condo boards or properties that has condo boards where you pay a condo fee. I'd probably do that as well, because when you buy a property that has a condo board, there can be a lot of rules and policies that you have to remember. If you need to, say for example, paint your exterior differently, you can't do that. You have to follow their bylaws on that one. You can't easily plant a tree outside to make your house look better from the exterior. So you can't do that. You have a lot of autonomy to do something interior inside the house, but not from the outside. And the condo fee sometimes as well can be very expensive for some properties, while others are much more competitive and much more affordable. Those are the mistakes that I probably would stay away from if you're going to make a decision. As a new immigrant, there's actually a lot of ways that you can get into this rental business much faster than the traditional route. So before, when you're a new immigrant, it's very frustrating because it takes time to be stable, to get a stable job. And it takes time to build that credit history, because you can't have history without time. So you need to put in time, pay your bills right and on time, and build that credit, a high credit score or credit rating. Now, again, I am not a real estate agent. I'm not working with any financial institutions or in the real estate industry. I'm more of an investor. So please do your research. Everybody unique in their own situation, so you need to make sure that you are getting expert advice. So right here, it's from the National Bank, and it tells us about the eligibility of purchasing a property. So in Canada, both permanent residents and non-resident residents are permitted to purchase property under certain conditions. So what that means is, yes, the government of Canada is allowing people to buy properties even if you're non-Canadian. So if you have a work permit, or even if you're a student here in Canada, you can buy properties with certain limitations, right? There are certain qualifications, and those qualifications sometimes can be paying a higher deposit. So other than paying 5%, you might be asked to pay more than that. They also might be asking for, if you don't have a credit history, then they might ask for credit history back from where your country of origin. So it really depends. Another one that I wanted to share with you here is just some updates to the federal governments where they're easing restrictions on non-Canadians. Now, you just have to remember that the first properties you probably buy, you would have to will be your prime residence, but that doesn't mean that you can't house hack, right? So just be careful in that one. You can't buy a property and rent it out right away. There will be some exceptions, so do your research again. I really highly recommend that. It is possible for you to get a mortgage, but they are requiring that it's insured, and there's only some select companies or entities that they were allowed to insure your property. They can insure a property for non-permanent residents. All they're asking for is must be legally authorized to work in Canada with a work permit. There's a few banks as well that allows this. So not all banks can give you this newcomer mortgage. There's a few banks, and I bank with RBC, which stands for Royal Bank of Canada. This is not sponsored by RBC. I'm just showing you what I did and who I deal with. I'm just showing you their site on how to get a mortgage if you're a newcomer to Canada. This is just one of the banks that offers that. And there's a lot more banks as well, but just know that not all banks can offer this newcomers to Canada. Owning a rental property here in Canada is not impossible. You just need to make sure that you have discipline and you have patience. And have some initiative as well, right? So you need to do a lot of research yourself. If you have any questions about getting a rental property, let me know in the comments. Or if you already have rental properties that you own, share with us what you've done differently and how you were able to be in your position right now of owning those properties. Thank you so much for watching this video. And remember that life as an immigrant is very hard in the beginning, it's messy in the middle, but it's beautiful at the end. Always remember that you're worth it and you deserve whatever you're fighting for. I will see you in the next one.